Namaste, hello, and welcome to Gaon Connections Gaon Cafe. There is bad news pouring in from different parts of the country. In the last 3 or 4 days, at least 27 people have died in Kerala due to heavy rainfall, landslides, and floods. And this is not the first time that Kerala has been battered by heavy rainfall and landslides. If we look back in August 2018, there were unprecedented floods, believed to be once in a century event in Kerala, where some 483 people are claimed to have died and some 300,000 people were evacuated. A year later, in August 2019, Kerala was again battered by heavy rainfall and floods, and some 121 people died. And while we are still recovering from what's happened in Kerala, in North India, in Uttarakhand, already there are reports of some 16 people killed due to heavy rainfall, slides, and destruction caused due to floods in the Himalayan states are pouring in. So for this episode of Gaon Cafe, we have a very, very special guest, a very senior, well-known scientist of India joining us. He's also the former Secretary of Ministry of Earth Scientists. So I welcome Dr. Madhavan Rajivan to this episode of Gaon Cafe.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Rajivan, for joining us. Dr. Rajivan, first and foremost, if you could tell us what has happened in Kerala. I mean, why this destruction despite the forecast given?
Well, see, the heavy rain for last 1 week or so in Kerala was mainly the monsoon is now retreating. So there is a synoptic system. There's a low pressure over Bay of Bengal as well as an Arabian Sea. There's a lot of moisture incursion. So IMD was able to predict these heavy rains. And if you really see the real people who really died are mainly due to landslides. And so because of heavy rains, especially people who are staying in the slopes of the Western Ghats have died. Otherwise, the heavy rainfall warnings were given, and floods were not that. It's not really started in the sense that the river flooding is not really that great as of in 2018. But people who have died are really basically from the landslide. So landslide is a common phenomena now occurring in Kerala, which is really a concern. And so that is mainly due to heavy rains. The slopes are coming down. And so there are a lot of changes in the land use in Kerala now. So last many years or so. So mainly because of their agriculture practice or development activities, etc. So in spite of heavy rainfall forecast, the landslides, still the prediction of landslide, where exactly it will occur, we are not up to the mark now. Many people are doing the work, but we are not able to tell the government or even the district authorities in advance that on this day on particular time the landslide will occur at this point. But landslide doesn't occur everywhere; it occurs at a specific spots. So that kind of a prediction scheme is not yet available. So we need to really work on such kind of prediction systems.
So, Dr. Rajiv, when you say this low pressure system that was formed in Bay of Bengal, can you just simplify and tell our viewers what is this low pressure system, and does it always give this kind of heavy rainfall wherever it is formed?
A low pressure system definitely will give rain because it's low pressure means the pressure is low at center and outside is high pressure. So winds will come very close to the center. And once winds come down, the physical law shows that it has to go up. And especially if it occurs over the ocean, then a lot of moisture is there. Ocean is nothing but water, so water will evaporate. So a lot of moisture, it goes up, heavy clouds, deep clouds form, and it rains. And Kerala is another important aspect of Kerala is the topography. It's a Western Ghats. It's a very shallow land, and left hand side is ocean, right hand side is the hill. There are also very steep hills. So it's a topography also plays a role. A strong winds pinging on this Western Ghats also can give rain. Assume that there is no low pressure system, but still a very heavy, strong westerly winds just hitting on the Western Ghats, it can give rise to orographic rain, and it will rain over the hilly regions, and that is the cause for landslides. So it's not necessary that you should have a low pressure to get heavy rainfall over Kerala. Strong winds, and this time what happened? I mean, low pressure plus because Bay of Bengal there was a low pressure, so westerly winds were very strong, and a lot of moisture. So it's a really good good environment for getting heavy rainfall, which models are showing it, suggesting it, and everybody could really do the predictions.
अगर मैं अपने दर्शकों को थोड़ा-सा बता सकूँ कि डॉक्टर राजीवन हमें ये बता रहे हैं जो केरला में अभी बारिश हुई है, वो इस चलते हुई थी क्योंकि एक लो प्रेशर सिस्टम जो था वो हमारे अरेबियन सी में जो था, अरब सागर में फॉर्म हुआ था और जहाँ पे लो प्रेशर सिस्टम फॉर्म होता है, वहाँ पे प्रेशर लो होता है, ताकि जो दूसरे एरिया से विंड्स जो हैं, वहाँ पे सब आकर मिलती हैं और जब ये ओशन के ऊपर ऐसा लो प्रेशर एरिया फॉर्म करता है, तो वहाँ पे जो है ओशन से जो इतना पानी होता है उसको उठाते हुए ऊपर जाता है, बड़े डीप क्लाउड्स फॉर्म करते हैं जिससे कि ये बहुत तेज वर्षा होती है, जैसा कि उनका कहना है अभी केरला में उस कारण हुआ है और उनका ये भी कहना है कि केरला की जो टोपोग्राफी है, जहाँ पे वो लोकेटेड है, एक तरफ उसके ओशन है और दूसरी तरफ वेस्टर्न घाट्स है, तो जब वहां से विंड्स भी आती हैं तो भी वो वेस्टर्न घाट से टकरा कर अगर लो प्रेशर एरिया ना भी हो तो भी वो वहां पे काफी वर्षा जो है केरला में देती है। तो टोपोग्राफी भी जो है वो केरला की में बारिश लाने के लिए बहुत बड़ा एक अहम जो है रोल प्ले करती है। Dr. Rajivan, if you can also tell us that what is the reason, apart from you said topography and Western Ghats, we have a long, Western Ghats is along right from starting from South Gujarat going down till Kerala. But what is the reason that Kerala is getting affected by these kind of disasters again and again? Is there any other scientific explanation, anything to do with heating of Arabian Sea or anything else you can explain?
See, I'm not able to tell you very quickly that what could be the other factors. There could be other factors, but as you said, that the warming of Arabian Sea also could be very important possible reasons for Kerala getting a lot of rains. And see, normally what happens is after a good monsoon, the Arabian Sea cools because monsoon winds are very strong. It does the kind of stirring in the of ocean water. So top layer water goes down, then bottom layer water goes up, and the water normally cools. And then October and all is very difficult to expect. We should not expect with a low pressure system, tropical cyclones in Arabia, especially in Arabian Sea. And you could probably even be remembering there was a system which crossed the whole Gujarat coast, then it descended over Arabian Sea and went up to Oman, and there it is we never heard. Frankly speaking, when I was in training 85, my teacher used to say that the area North Arabian Sea is much cool. Nothing will form. Even if it forms, it immediately fizzles out. But it sustain it, strengthen it, give a lot of rains over and havoc in Oman. So things are changing, frankly speaking. That we should accept. Arabian Sea is warming when compared to Bay of Bengal. And that warm ocean is always very dangerous in the sense that it can keep the ocean energy, it can trigger synaptic systems, it's almost like a heat engine, like a fuel for the vehicles. So it can induce low pressure systems and give rise to a lot of rains. So it's very strange. Of course, there could be a lot of local things which may be also happening, which we are not sure. So unless you do a very detailed study in very high resolution studies, understanding what kind of things are changing in Kerala, especially with the rainfall, so we will not able to understand that exactly. So we need really a very detailed study. Probably IMD or IITM should do this kind of work.
राइट। सो जो डॉक्टर राजीवन अभी हमें बता रहे हैं वो ये कह रहे हैं कि मैंने उनसे सवाल पूछा था कि क्या अरब सागर हमारा गर्म हो रहा है, क्या उसके कारण जो है ये जो केरला में बार बार इंसिडेंसेस हो रहे हैं, चाहे वो अगस्त 2018 के हो या अगस्त 2019 के हो या जो अभी हमारे साथ में हुआ है। तो उनका ये कहना है कि बहुत मुश्किल है एग्जैक्टली पिन पॉइंट कर पाना क्या कारण है कि केरला में इस तरह बार बार इस तरह के डिजास्टर हो रहे हैं। बट हाँ, शायद जो वार्मिंग जो ओशन का है, अरब सागर जो है वो बे ऑफ बंगाल की खाड़ी के हिसाब से ज्यादा तेजी से गर्म हो रहा है, जो एक कारण कंट्रीब्यूटरी कारण जरूर हो सकता है कि इस तरह की जो है एक्सट्रीम वेदर इवेंट्स और हैवी रेनफॉल इवेंट्स हो रही हैं। और उनका ये कहना है कि जब शायद 80s में वो पढ़ रहे थे, उस टाइम पे ये बोला जाता था कि अरेबियन सी जो है, नॉर्थ अरेबियन सी है, उसमें कभी कोई इस तरह के सिस्टम्स फॉर्म नहीं होंगे। पर अब अगर हम देखें तो ये सब चेंज हो रहे हैं, हमारे ओशंस जो हैं वो हीटअप हो रहे हैं, जिसके कारण कि इस तरह के जो बहुत अतिवृष्टि की जो incidences हैं वो बढ़ रहे हैं. Dr. Rajivan, you were also referring to the monsoon withdrawal. Now this year the withdrawal of monsoon has also delayed. Now is this delay in any way linked to any of these heavy rainfall events that we are witnessing, and how normal is this late withdrawal of monsoon?
Yeah, see, last few years, if you really see that withdrawal is happening very late now, and that's why we revised the even withdrawal dates over India. And so it could. I'm not saying that this withdrawal could be related to climate change. I'm not
Right.
able to say, but it could be natural variability also. Maybe every 30, 40 years this withdrawal. So that we are not understood properly. So withdrawal is happening very late now. That is very sure. And so the monsoon is try to stay back for some more days and become very active. So the warming of both the Arabian Sea and Bay of Bengal could be one of the reasons. Could be one of the reasons because it sustains the energy and feeds monsoon current to get low pressure system forming. So unless these systems form, the monsoon current will not be very strong and they will not be able to sustain. So low pressure systems should form, but for that oceans play an important role. So maybe the warm oceans maybe play important role for late withdrawal. And there could be a lot of other reasons. It could be a part of natural variability also, which I'm not sure. And late withdrawal. So we should expect the kind of things even in October, early part of October. Also, we should expect not only the northeast monsoon comes in the second half of October in South Peninsula, but you can even expect even the first half of October also. We should expect this kind of events any part of the country. So we should be careful.
So should we also then redefine our southwest monsoon period? Like we always say, June to September is southwest monsoon, then 3 months is northeast monsoon. And a lot of time, when we are also doing stories, we keep saying that, okay, this is unusual, unprecedented. Like we were checking, I think Lucknow only or something, my colleagues were checking last 24 hours rainfall. It was showing some 10,000% above normal or something like that. So do we really need to redefine all these things? Because otherwise it seems like 5,000% above normal, or, it just seems too crazy when one looks at these numbers like that.
First, regarding that monsoon definition, season definition, I agree with you that because late onset as well as late withdrawal is happening, we can define. But for IMD people, it's a bookkeeping bookkeeping of rainfall data and all month-wise. 30th September will be easy for them to maintain. But for academically, I am very sure that it should not be June to September. It should be. We had done an analysis when I was in IMD Pune. We had done an analysis starting from you calculate monsoon season from monsoon onset when it comes and when monsoon really goes back particular year. So that need not be exactly from June to September. So that studies we had done it and we have found that there are small differences are there. And but for IMD, for easy of bookkeeping, probably this is the best way of doing in June to September calendar months they calculate. And regarding this 1,000 times percentage or 500 percentage, it is true that, but see that comes mainly because the Lucknow and all now the normal value is very small. Right. Monsoon has withdrawn, so the normal values are small, 0.2, 0.5 millimeter. So even if it's 10 millimeter or 20 millimeter, if you divide it by 0.2, it will become a big number. Okay. So that may be one of the reasons. So otherwise, normally we should not expect 1,000 times and all rainfall. We should not expect. I think that will be a kind of a havoc.
Okay. So I now coming to Uttarakhand, Dr. Rajivan. We've had. I mean, again, since yesterday, we've seen visuals on social media, what's happening in Nainital and other parts of Uttarakhand. At least 16 people have already died there also because of heavy rainfall, slides, and flash floods. What explains what's happening in Uttarakhand? I was just reading there is a trough and then there is this low pressure. Both of them are
interconnected. Because now monsoon started withdrawing. Now it's the time that these middle altitude weather systems come down. And so winter we call western disturbances. So it starts coming now. So this is the typical interaction which normally happen with easterlies or Indo-Gangetic plains and this westerly trough. And IMD models who are able to predict, even I have tweeted 2 days back, right. I have tweeted that there will be a lot of heavy rains over Uttarakhand. So it was predictable. This kind of events are predictable. And it's unfortunate that a lot of people have died in even Uttarakhand. And Uttarakhand also the same kind of topography, hilly regions.
Right.
And landslides is the first kind of events which can occur due to heavy rains. And landslides prediction, exact location, identifying location, and even few hours, even 1 hour, if we are able to locate it and tell the people can be evacuated. But it's at present we don't have that kind of good science or technology to do that. People are trying, but I think it may be possible for in another future time. But at present, we don't have.
Right. And this is, you talked about Western disturbances, Dr. Rajeevan. I mean, are there any studies and any reference material that tell us, are Western disturbance also the pattern changing? Are they coming early,
Yes,
leading
yes,
late,
yes.
numbers? Okay.
Yes. Western different frequency as well. Of course, the pattern in the sense that frequency is a different. Definitely, it is increasing, and especially winter season frequency is increasing. It can come down, and also it can affect even up to Maharashtra. That kind of things are happening. Instead of confining only Delhi and north of Delhi, now it's sometimes Western disturbance even can come down. So there are a lot of changes in the Western disturbance also. That people relate to Arctic climate. Arctic, when sea ice is melting, this kind of deep troughs moving along the middle latitude is possible, especially Europe and then some parts of Asia. It's all well documented. So this deep troughs coming in towards the central India and causing a lot of heavy rains and all is becoming a kind of a normal. And that people suggest that it could be related to Arctic sea ice melting.
Okay. And Dr. Rajeevan, you've studied Indian monsoon in great detail, and I think you've possibly published maximum research papers also on monsoon. Can you tell us, our monsoon patterns, are they changing? And if they are changing, how are they changing? What are some of the changes that a monsoon is showing?
Monsoon pattern is definitely changing, there's no doubt. And as I said, that there's a huge natural variability of monsoon which can occur in years together, some 30 years or 40 years time scale. That's mainly because of oceans, natural variability. In addition to, there is a lot of change which could be related to global warming. It could be related to anthropogenic effect, human influence. And for example, the total monsoon rainfall is not much changing. If you really take all India, monsoon is not really changing. So monsoon is a very robust system. So we should not be afraid that monsoon one fine morning will disappear. It will never happen. We will have monsoon. Every year it will come sometime late May and June. It will go sometime in October. That is assured. There's no change. And quantum of rainfall is also, so minimum rainfall about 70 to 75 centimeter. All India rainfall is very sure, crucial, and it will happen. Only thing is, if you take pockets, regional regions, there are some pockets where you get a lot of more rains last 25 years. For example, eastern parts of central India they are getting less and less rainfall now. Kerala and western coast is getting little less rainfall, but whereas Rajasthan and Maharashtra is getting more rain. So there are a regional pattern. What is more important is there are two things which we need to really notice. One is, all 122 days, that means 1st June to 30th September, we don't get rain. Any place, you take any place, you don't get all 122. Only few days it rains. Then that we call as a rainy day. And so now what is really happening is this number of rainy days is decreasing. Okay. And the total amount at a particular region is fixed. So what is really happening means instead of maybe 35 to 40 days it should rain. Now it is raining in 30 days or 25 days. So, but the total amount is same. That means when it rains very heavily. Right. So these are the two things which will have a lot of implications for agriculture, especially for farmers. It will have, because they may be expecting a lot of rainy days so that they can extend their operations, and they can sometimes delay the operation, saying that for monsoon maybe now also it can come, rain can still come, but number of rainy days are decreasing. And when it rains heavily. And the second thing is, we have a active break cycle in monsoon. For example, we have many days for 1 week or so, a lot of rains, then followed by a kind of a lull or weak monsoon. Now, what is happening is this lull period is extending. The dry spell, the days in which we have less rainfall or suppressed monsoon rainfall is increasing. These are the three important things which have a lot of implications. These three things are confirmed. It is there in our observations, and we have documented. and in future climate change when you really run climate models, and these three things are again come up. So that means we'll have extreme rainfall, dry spells are increasing, number of rainy days are decreasing. These are the three things we should be very careful. It can have implication in terms of agriculture, water resources, many sectors.
राइट. सो डॉक्टर राजीवन जो हमें बता रहे हैं, मैंने उनसे पूछा था सवाल कि जो हमारा मॉनसून का रेनफॉल का पैटर्न है वो क्या बदल रहा है, और अगर बदल रहा है तो कैसे बदल रहा है. तो उन्होंने ये समझाया है कि डेफिनेटली जो भी स्टडीज अभी तक करी गई हैं वो ये दिखाती हैं कि हमारे मॉनसून का जो पैटर्न है वो डेफिनेटली बदल रहा है. अगर हम देखें कुल जो हमारी मॉनसून की बरसात का जो है टोटल अमाउंट, वो तो सेम ही है, जो करीब करीब सेम ही है. पर क्या हो रहा है कि अगर किसी एरिया में सपोज आपके यहाँ पे 30 दिन बारिश हुआ करती थी, तो अब वो 30 दिन की जगह शायद वो 20 दिन बारिश हो रही है, पर टोटल अमाउंट ऑफ रेनफॉल जो था वो सेम है. इसका मतलब ये है कि आपके यहाँ पर जो है भारी वर्षा जो है कम समय में, कम दिनों में बहुत तेज और भारी वर्षा हो रही है, ये उन्होंने हमें बताया है. और उन्होंने ये भी कहा है कि जब हम मॉनसून की बात करते हैं तो एक्टिव फेज होता है और एक लल फेज होता है. तो जो ड्राई फेज है मॉनसून का, कि कुछ दिन बारिश होती है, फिर ड्राई फेज आता है, फिर कुछ दिन बारिश होती है, तो ये जो ड्राई फेज है मॉनसून का, उनका ये कहना है कि उसका पीरियड भी जो है बढ़ता चला जा रहा है. और इस सब का जो इम्पैक्ट डायरेक्टली हमारे किसानों पे, खेती पे पड़ता है, हमारे वाटर रिसोर्सेज के ऊपर पड़ता है. और एक चीज और जो उन्होंने हमें बताई थी, मैंने वेस्टर्न डिस्टर्बेंस के बारे में उनसे पूछा था. वेस्टर्न डिस्टर्बेंस से हमारे जो नॉर्थ इंडिया में जो स्नोफॉल होता है या बारिश होती है, वो इस मौसम में, विंटर्स में जो आती है, वो वेस्टर्न डिस्टर्बेंसेस लेके आती है. तो उनका ये कहना है कि वेस्टर्न डिस्टर्बेंस की भी जो फ्रीक्वेंसी है वो पिछले कुछ सालों में बढ़ गई है. और वेस्टर्न डिस्टर्बेंसेस जो उत्तर भारत में बारिश देती थी या बर्फ देती थी, वो अब इवन महाराष्ट्र तक भी जो है वेस्टर्न डिस्टर्बेंस पहुंच जाती है. Dr. Rajivan, इससे अगर आप like you pointed out about how our farming community is getting affected because of this changing rainfall patterns, and can you tell us what are some of the major initiatives that Earth Sciences Ministry and IMD has taken under your leadership as Secretary of the Earth Sciences Ministry, specifically for farming community?
Yeah, so as you know that IMD's weather service is one of the important weather services for farmers. Agriculture meteorology is most important services which IMD provides. They have been doing for years together, and we have special schemes for farmers. And nowadays we give the forecast twice in a week, and it's called agro-meteorological agro bulletins, which provide the forecast for next 5 days or so. Earlier we used to give it only to some about 1 million farmers or so. The SMS used to go there, but now that number has increased. It's almost 42 million farmers are getting that kind of messages twice in a week. And earlier we used to give only forecast for a district. For some assume that the whole district, all farmers will get the same kind of information, which is not really good. It's not correct, because even within the district there could be a lot of changes. So now, when I was secretary, we introduced the block level forecast. So there are about 6,500 blocks in this country. So if you want to be a block level forecast, that means in one district there could be 8 to 10 blocks, sometimes even more. And so even block level forecast will, of course, farmers basically want our forecast at the farm, which is almost impossible. So block level could be a good solution. So we are trying now almost some 2,500 or 3,000 blocks we are already started giving. And for that, we need to really have a very high resolution model. That's why we purchased a big computer. Now we are running the model at 12 kilometer. Now we are very soon we'll be running the IMMOS will be running the model at 5 kilometer global model. And with the regional model, we can even go up to 1 kilometer, 2 kilometer, etc. So high resolution forecast. And also we are setting up observatory, agro-meteorological observatory. 400 at present, 250 observatories we are setting up, and we have a plans of setting up one agro-meteorological unit at each district. We have about 700 districts in this country.
Right.
Each district one agro. Earlier it was only 130 were available when I joined. Now it is almost increased to 300 now. So finally it will be increased to 700. Each district will identify one place, and that we are working closely with ICAR. So ICAR, because they have Krishi Vigyan
Right, kendras, right.
Kendras,
Krishi kendras.
and each district they have a Krishi Vigyan Kendra. So we give money to them, and so they will recruit their concerned staff and all. There, each Kendras will set up one observatory, and then that particular district that these officials will interact with farmers. So we are going very close to the farmers now and giving more and more information. But I personally feel it may not be sufficient. Still, we need to really work much more for farmers because ultimately they have to get more income.
Right, and I think at least at Gaon Connection, we get very much affected because almost every few days we keep getting these messages and visuals from farmlands showing us that my whole tomato crop is destroyed because the field is flooded with water, and now with this so much rain happening, they're barely able to recover from their the crop loss of the last crop season, and the next crop season again some extreme weather even happens. So these losses are really mounting. So I'm hoping like this kind of forecast, like you said, if we have at each district, it would really help our farmers to get information in advance, and at least they can store their crops in advance somewhere to save them. Now, this is also, Dr. Rajivan, a larger question comes in mind is that we are always told that whenever we talk of conservation, protection, or not doing certain things, we're seen as anti growth, and you're not letting the nation grow, you're not letting the states grow. And when Gadgil, Dr. Madhav Gadgil was selected as a chairperson of a Western Ghat commission, and he prepared a report, and that said some 64% of Western Ghats should be defined as ecologically fragile. There was another report, Kasturi Rangan's report, which said that 37%. But every time all this never gets implemented because it is seen as anti-development. People also don't want it because they fear if our area gets notified, then we won't be able to do a lot of activities. Is there a way to balance conservation and development, keeping in mind we have so many extreme weather events happening now?
Yeah, I think it should be possible. It should be possible. See, development is required. And Kerala, in fact, yesterday I was hearing an interview with Madhav Gadgil by one of Kerala TV channel people. And the question was, and Kerala people are middle income people, it's not very rich, but not very poor. So they have a lot of aspirations. They need to get more money, more income. They have to live a little more comfortable way. Then he was, Madhav Gadgil was asking, that's an aspiration you can have, but at the same time, you can also protect the environment. So development and protection of environment should go well together. I think you cannot do a development work by destroying nature. It's really a kind of really a bad job which we'll be doing it by. It's I don't know. We used to say that penny wise you are wise, but pound wise you are foolish. That kind of thing. We may expect that people will get more rich, but this kind of disasters will destroy the whole development which he had done it for years together in few days. 3-4 days, whatever development we have made for years together, struggling a lot, will go in. Say, for example, people who died and who lost the houses in a hilly area due to landslide, how much money they must have put in to develop that their home, and they must have had a lot of aspiration to send the children to good schools and college and all these things. Within few minutes, everything is gone. So we need to have kind of balance. I'm not saying that we should not have an aspiration. I also a lot of people we should have aspiration, but there is a way of doing a balancing between aspirations and development as well as protecting environment. And Kerala is very special because it's a very fragile ecosystem. Very fragile. It's a very small place surrounded by a topography of very heavy hills and oceans and small land region, and a lot of small, and rivers are very small. It's not like Narmada or Kaveri. It's not a very big river. It's all small rivers. When it rains in the upfront, the whole water can come to the downstream very quickly. So people are to be, and the rivers are getting changed. The course of rivers are getting changed because of development. I think we should have a balance. Of course, I'm not blaming anyone. I'm not blaming the government. I'm not supposed to do that. I'm not blaming, but as a human being, as a general Indian citizen, I feel the feeling that development and environment protection should go well together. It is possible. Many countries are doing like that only. Why we cannot do?
Mm-hmm. Just last question, Dr. Rajivan. Now we also have COP26 starting from the end of this month. This whole target of 1.5 degrees Celsius or maybe 2 degrees Celsius. Do you think in present circumstances, is that achievable for the world?
1.5, I personally feel not possible.
Not possible.
And it's not like that. All countries should really act. It's not like that. India is doing extremely good job. For example, they are going for solar energy, wind energy, the alternate energy sources. They are going and they are doing extremely well. They are very committed. There's no doubt about it. But it's not alone. India doing alone will not really help, because the carbon dioxide emitted by all the countries, and it doesn't have any. It is simply mixed up with the whole globe quickly, because it's a uniformly mixed gas.
Right.
And atmosphere doesn't know who is emitting. Atmosphere only detects carbon dioxide, whether it is emitted by rich people, US or UK or Europe or India. They doesn't. Atmosphere doesn't understand. Climate doesn't understand. Climate understand how much atmosphere carbon dioxide is there in the atmosphere. It behaves. It reacts to that. So So all countries have to really act on that. Thank God, with the new US president, the US is now a little more committed. And but still, I feel that this rich countries should really put more efforts to, first of all, for the poor countries. See, when you really cut short your fossil fuel, you need another kind of energy for this. India is affordable. India is capable of doing it, but many poor countries may not be able to do that. So big rich countries should help poor countries to have this kind of replacement or help their development. We are not. Nobody is saying that the poor countries should not develop. They should develop. Then the rich countries have kind of a social responsibility to helping this poor country. That is not happening. The funding, the climate funding, and that's not really happening. That's not really happening. But we need to really work together, and one individual country cannot really handle this issue.
True, and unfortunately, as you know, we also keep traveling. We see that unfortunately the worst impacts of climate change are actually being felt by the poorest of the poor, who've actually not really contributed. Then whether we look at people who are living in Odisha or Sundarbans, Bangladesh, who get hit by cyclones again and again, they are not really the ones who contributed to this problem, global problem of climate change, but they are the ones who get affected the most and lack resources the most to overcome this. And I think, Dr. Rajivan, it was great to have you on our show, and you explained the Kerala disaster, Uttarakhand, monsoon patterns, and what different efforts the Earth Scientific Ministry and the IMD is making for the farming community of the country. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.